Hello to everybody at the same time. Hello, Instagram. Welcome, YouTube. Wow, Ekat, you bring a lot of people in, don't you? Okay, so
is it a lot of people?
I'm just comparing it to 30 seconds into my Patrick Coon stream, and we had 5 people. So I think 30 seconds in, we're doing pretty great. So thank you, everybody who's hopping in. We have a lot of questions, some that I've already prepared because I've been asking a lot of members of the community, and we also have a lot of opportunity for you all to ask us questions. So welcome everybody in the chat as everyone's loading in, and you can also check us out, the full quality interview over on the Online Magic World Championship YouTube page. So we're live streaming on both together. But yeah, so if anyone hasn't heard, because they might be coming in from your Instagram, they might not know that this year the World Championships of Magic is starting the first ever Online Magic World Championship. So it's really exciting. And you are part of our all-star panel of judges. So what has that been like to be a part of this project since the inception, to be part of starting this new era?
Well, I felt like I came in a little bit late into the brief, but definitely before the announcement went on, probably 24 hours before I knew that I was going to be one of the judges. So it was pretty fast paced. And to be honest, I was a little bit surprised because I'm probably one of the most controversial figures with my content. And I know for sure that there's a lot of kind of traditional thinking about magic that exists at FISM that are not, those folks are not fans of my content. So one thing that I did ask before I said yes to be on the panel was, are you sure?
Yeah, and I didn't realize that you were so particularly controversial. But from some of my conversations with Doug Kahn yesterday and things, I think that there is a certain kind of general rift in the community of how online magic is viewed as a whole. And some people don't think that magic should be presented at all online. They think it's meant to be just a live performance art. Some people definitely don't think that it should be taught online. Whereas people like myself who grew up in the generation of learning magic online, or people like Shin Lim who became a FISM winner learning all of his magic off of YouTube at the start, we think of magic and YouTube as just, one and the same, is that this is a resource just like any other resource, and so I didn't realize that there was so much of that, but that's amazing that they were able to bring you on board and not see that.
To me it showed, and that's why my answer was very quick, like let's do it, because it showed me that there is an effort to kind of build a bridge with me, right? So I definitely appreciated that. And I technically, it's you're giving your time, right? So it's basically giving back to the community. And I did feel a little bit disconnected the last 2 years with the community. And I feel like in my early days of creating content online, because I've been creating content online since 2007. So a lot of folks don't realize how much time that is of publishing stuff online. So you can see me like pretty much grow up to where I am now, right? So it is tough to compare my early days where I was creating magic for magicians to then doing the switch only 2 years ago to then showing magic and content to everybody. So really not targeting magicians anymore. And I felt it more rewarding in the last 2 years to reach like mass audiences with my content versus having like a very little niche of getting that 5K views per my magic review versus on my peak months, my videos would reach 50 million people. That is like a lot of stadiums, right? So in a way, with that type of reach, you could technically do damage. That's possible. But that is in any category. That's the same kind of liability when you get there. So that's definitely a lot more pressure when you create content. But I have found it more rewarding because majority is still positive, because it's coming from people who are non-magicians and they don't understand like the drama behind the scenes that's going on, or why there's such a perception or negative perception, where it's to a point where some weeks I would receive like death threats from magicians. So it depends. There's good weeks, there's bad weeks.
And so well, this is so amazing to be able to hear all of the different sides of the perspectives of having a career trying to pursue being an online magician. And like what the some of the negatives and the hardships are is that sometimes you have backlash from the community that can be oftentimes negativity and resentment that's built up towards the genre as a whole, that's suddenly pointed towards you, that isn't really deserved. Like, what did I do in this one post that was such a big deal? But people that hate online magic or don't value maybe online tutorials will then kind of, can lash out. And so do you find that as you made the transition, because I always associated you for the longest time with making content that was like for the magic community. And then when I was getting ready to do this interview, I was like, whoa, we got 1 million subscribers. I was like, wow. And did you find that like when you made that transition to the making content for the general public, is that when the maybe negative comments or perception in the magic community increased, or was it already comments so you made the switch?
No, I definitely made it, but what people don't realize, and they really have to look at my content strategy here. And the background of why I do content and I understand content is also I'm a marketer. So I'm a marketing executive. I live and breathe marketing. I live and breathe these platforms, whether for myself or for the brands that I market for. And most of the brands, it's really high caliber, premium luxury segment. So there is that feel about my content. It's not just off the cuff, just on your phone. So that's why I probably never went live on Instagram, because I feel like it's maybe not premium enough, or, I don't have that much control over it. But I think it's still good to try new things like what we're doing now. And I want to bring attention to the online magic category. We'll talk about it later and why it's important. So the shift is in the concept. I wanted to use short form, and I haven't seen it done a lot before I started doing it, to teach. And my content concept was I show something cool related to dexterity and skills, and then I say, let's learn, and then I teach it all within 60 seconds. That was the concept. And I compared that concept to like a TV series, like Got Talent show. It's a TV series. They franchise it, they sell it, and they repeat it. And I do think that TV series, at some point, you need to have like an end to it. So I do feel like at some point, maybe there will be an end to my Let's Learn series. I haven't reached that point yet because I'm still learning things. But that's the concept. So I'm like, if I can generate a concept and just put that on repeat, and then with my understanding of the platforms, then I will be able to basically capitalize on the algorithm without putting any media dollars. Because traditionally, as a marketer, I would pay media dollars, and then the content is viewed and seen. So I can give more insights about the algorithm. I learned quite a bit about it, but there's a certain way my content is presented that is very favorable for the algorithm. So nothing is random in my content. And as I developed it, I saw myself, the same definition of who a magician is. A magician is an actor playing the part of a magician. So the same way in my content series, I'm like, okay, I'm like the hero actor, or for some people, the villain actor. What does that character need? It needs surrounding characters. So then I introduced my son. I introduced my cat, Tiger, who has become more famous than me, I can argue. And that is supportive character that builds, the persona that then, makes people feel a little bit closer to you. And very often they say, okay, I joined for the magic, but I stayed for the random stuff. So when you go through my content, you can actually count how much content is like percentage magic, percentage cardistry, and percentage random skills that I find cool.
But it all fits within a unified kind of brand, or within a unified kind of like personal brand of like, who is this person? Who is this character that is ECAT? And every video, it's like you have this kind of working formula, and then you can continue to introduce yourself more and more bit and bit, like, each video, which is really amazing. Like, and obviously education is a slightly different lane than entertainment, but as people are trying to work on their submissions, are there some kind of fundamental principles that you've found that work really, really well consistently for you that anybody could apply to their videos as they're getting ready to submit?
Absolutely. So I found that talking with no disruption to your voice is really good and really SEO friendly. So like I would love to see someone talk through a trick. Like that is very easy for the algorithm to interpret what you're doing because it is transcribing in the back end what you're saying. So what I find interesting about Instagram, which is my first indicator of a content doing well, is if you look at the search bar on Instagram, it will tell you, like it will say what people have searched for that is tagged in this video. So if you're on your own page, and I would recommend everyone, before you submit the video, post it somewhere. And I would recommend Instagram or TikTok, but TikTok is a bit easier because you see what appears in the search and see what the algorithm thinks you posted. And again, you'll have better results when you speak in the video in English. So then the feature that is available only on TikTok is you can edit the captions and you can add in your script a word you're not saying, and that word will explain to the algorithm what you're doing. So let's say you have a really cool pattern that you're going through, but somehow when you post a video, TikTok didn't understand that you did a magic trick or a card trick or a coin trick, and you just add the two words coin trick or card trick. And then it knows what you posted and it knows which audience would enjoy it. And there's a huge audience that enjoys magic.
That's so fascinating. That's a really good tip. Yeah, for anyone who really wants to help get their content out there and get organic reach, and they keep feeling like, why is my content not reaching the audience that I'm looking for? Well, maybe like because you're not saying the specific words in your actual video that would lead to those keywords. So that's sneaky. Yeah, like Derek said in the comments, just type in those search terms into your transcript even though you didn't actually say them. Wow.
So for me, so a lot of people are like, why there's no like music and you're performing to the music. I'm like, because I would really have to work on the other stuff to help the algorithm understand what I'm doing. And the other stuff could be the title, the description, the hashtags. There's other things that could give indication of what you're doing. But at the end, I understood that I am just creating content that needs to be digested by, at the end, AI in the future, right? So how do I make content that a machine understands, and how can I feed it? So and then so easy way is to post it and see what comes up. And it will always, now I have a feature on Instagram because when you reach over 1 million followers, you get extra features in your dashboard. And the feature is being able to test reels. So what it does is, because it is a lot of pressure to upload something new and different to your entire audience. So what I would do is do a test reel, and it doesn't show it to your followers. It will show it to the same way as the algorithm works for TikTok, shows to a small audience. If they engage with it, it shows it to a bigger audience, then a bigger and bigger and bigger. And then if you're happy with those results, you can push it live to your followers. So there's, those tools that I don't think people realize those exist, but it does take a certain threshold of followers to get access to those tools. And, some of my clients now, since I've gained the following, include, Google, they're a client, and TikTok was a client. I did a magic show for them, which is crazy. So like they are all like really willing to help creators and share. And I've met other creators outside of obviously magic, because most of the bigger creators are not in the magic industry. And it's just nonstop learning about how things work, and things do change all the time. So you have to keep up. But that tip on being SEO optimized and just speaking in a video, that's been true for me for the last 2 years.
Yeah. Wow. That's so interesting. I mean, because that's like a legitimately practical, actual thing for how to engage with the algorithm. And that's something that is also kind of, it doesn't seem like that's algorithm dependent, like it's temporary at any point, like because regardless, in the future, having those search terms in your transcript is always going to help it to be more searchable, especially as AI becomes more and more advanced. Then it'll just make it more easy for your video to be cataloged. So wow.
Do we go into answer some comments? Tommy Collins Magic says, how many hours a day do you earmark for social? So I have a very busy schedule, because again, I'm a marketer executive by day. I work on a really cool brand. So for me, it's really a weekend thing. So I will batch create content on the weekend. Wow. And usually it takes me one day. There is Eric Leclerc. And it works so well. So how are your push-ups coming along? Sorry, I can't show you a sample because I'm wearing like a pajama shorts instead of actual pants. But yeah, this is the kind of random stuff I'm talking about. People get it really into me learning how to do push-ups, which I am much better at, Eric, much better. So yeah, please try to upload a video before you submit it. You will get instant response. And the response you get from the algorithm, it will be instant, but it might take a few videos for you to test the concept. Like for me, to get to the Let's Learn concept, I had 6 videos. And actually those 6 videos, funny enough, they were mandated to me by Bicycle at the time. So I was their ambassador the first year. And I was like, okay, I don't know how many cardistry videos I can make. Let me just teach them some cardistry. And so the first 1 million followers I got on Instagram, it was only teaching cardistry, which is crazy. And it started with those 6 videos with bicycle cards. And in 4 out of 6 videos, I used Let's Learn as a tagline. And the 2 videos I didn't use the Let's Learn tagline were not picked up by the algorithm. It's crazy. And then the comments started to reinforce, like, okay, let's learn, let's do this. So they were kind of like on board, like, okay, this is the tagline. And then I stuck with that. And I'm like, okay, my concept is let's learn. This is what seems to resonate. And the moment I say that, the algorithm picks it up right away. So the crazy part is now, if you try to do it now, the algorithm knows my content so well, it will pick up any Let's Learn content. So it was interesting to see all the copycats following that. That literally just used exactly the same, because I've trained the algorithm across all our platforms to basically recognize that. So anyway, fun fact, I personally don't mind people copying me or trying to just see if it works for themselves. I think the one thing that I struggle with people, being so adamant about, okay, you cannot test something that someone has done. Well, how do you know if what they're saying works? Just try one time, see if it works, tweak it, make it your own. But the basis is always going to be someone, right? So for me, in making those short videos, I consumed so much short form content. And what I did is like the opposite of what I saw, because what I saw is a lot of, so a lot of people refer to my content as anti-beastification. What that means is there's no like crazy cuts and like text and transitions. So I did exactly the opposite of what I saw, because I thought this is not healthy for a teaching environment. It has to be calm, right? And I'm a super calm person. And so I'm like, and so a lot of times, not only, okay, content is anti-beastification, but also it's ASMR, because I really care about that crisp audio coming through. And that has carried through my content too. And, I'm not first language English, obviously, and still that hasn't hindered me from reaching an English speaking audience. So anyone that's shy about accents, or don't worry about it. I personally recommend trying speaking through in the performance you're posting after you've tested it. And the other thing that I want to see in that performance, in the same way that I built a brand around me, is it obvious the brand you have around you? And if you also use just the example of like Jackie O, do you know what his tagline is? Right?
Yeah, of course. Everybody knows his tagline.
Oh my, right?
Oh my.
And then Jeremy, right? He was one of the first submissions. It's what, right? Or like, so everyone has found a way to express their brand. And literally, when I go on stage now, even though I'm even not teaching anything, I just start and I say, let's learn, just to like appease the fans.
Just to do it.
Just to do it. Unfortunately, I can't bring my cat everywhere, but that probably, I can see a big show with my cat as a finale. But
those are so important. Yeah, I think that people really underestimate the importance of audio in general. And the moment that you see a movie with bad audio, then you immediately go, oh wow, it's so important, because it completely is so distracting and overpowering the visual. And having auditory branding is also so important. Like you were saying, having that kind of tagline, something that people keep coming back to and they keep associating you with. Is your laptop like speaker on or anything?
Nope, it's not. Do you hear any?
I don't know why I'm hearing myself. That's weird.
Nope, nothing is on. Yeah, nothing is on my end.
Okay. Well, we keep rolling with it. It's all good.
You're good.
It's not a big deal. But anyways,
Leighton is like, what is the topic of the live stream? So the topic is actually talking about the online World Championship.
Yes. Yes. So we have a lot of questions that we have actually come in prior to the stream, and you can also ask any of your questions about the Online Magic World Championship for Ekaterina in the chat right here on Instagram or on YouTube. One thing is that the scoring, because it's not just based on the audience vote, it's also based on essentially the FISM scoring criteria. I was curious, out of those like 6 criteria, what are you kind of most looking for? What is most important to you? Obviously, you have to look for all of them in a video, but some are going to be more applicable to online magic than others, so there, for anyone who's not aware, FISM scores people based on 1, your technical skill or handling, 2, your showmanship or presentation, 3, the entertainment value, 4, the artistic impression, routining, 5, originality, and then 6, magic atmosphere. So what are the things that you really value the most when you're looking at magic content?
I think for me, number 1 is going to be originality. I want to see something I haven't seen before. It's always fun because that's like the kid in you. And I always like to say there are 2 reactions to magic. There's like, wow, I want to feel that. And then there's, how did you do it? So I want to feel both of those reactions. And I think originality is the only thing that can bring that out of a magician. And I think all of us are magicians on the panel. So kind of no choice to try to bring those 2 out of us. And then I would say 2 would be showmanship. I really want to see your personality shine through, because everyone could there could be the best original trick, but you're just not delivering it, and I'm not feeling the delivery. So I think that delivery for me personally is going to be important, because I know that that's what connects to people. It's about how you make people feel at the end. So the magic has to be good, but I want to feel good afterwards as well. I want to feel like, okay, I want to basically, I want to have lunch with you. Do I want to have lunch with you or not after your performance? Do I want to hang out with you?
And it might be a silly question, but do you feel like there, is there any advice that you have for how people can help to have their personality shine through in only 90 seconds?
Yeah, it is a short period of time, but it's possible. And I would say it's be true to like the character that you want to showcase. It is always going to be a little bit exaggerated. It's always going to be, because it's video and it's different than if we were just having a chat. But see what feels good to you. Like when it doesn't feel genuine, where it's just you will feel that it's not right. So I would say definitely whoever is close to you, if you want to test the algorithm, to test with people that know you and show them, like, does this show me? Or show the character you want to portray. And a lot of people won't succeed at playing a character that doesn't connect with them. Like there's only so many, Pip the Magic Dragons, right? There's one, right?
Yeah.
So he can play that role, and he is incredible at playing that role. But obviously, if you're close to him and you're hanging out with him, he's not going to be the Magic Dragon, or maybe he is. I don't know. But I would say what makes it the most natural, and social media is so good at figuring out, like, I'm going to use the words like bullshit. Like they will cut through like someone who is unauthentic and cancel them right away. Like it's very easy to read through the tone. And I think the people closest to you will be able to judge and tell you, look, that looks a little bit exaggerated, or so I would say definitely getting opinion and feedback. And this is the vulnerable part of taking part in a competition like this. People will maybe throw judgment, but hopefully it's constructive feedback and it helps you basically tailor your content. But I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think folks also on themselves have a good perception. Like if I watch, a video of me, I can kind of evaluate, have I kind of did it too much or exaggerated, or I try to record every show that I do to see, did I do too many jokes? Like, am I trying to be a comedian, or like, what am I trying to achieve? And I'm just trying to have fun and connect with people. So the other thing, and this I learned from a magic lecture, I just don't recall the magician. So, but I think the magician would, maybe someone in the comments would recognize, but it's someone who basically used juggling as an example, and he said, be happy when you lose. And I think this is the one thing that, you know, if it was a live performance, you have no choice because you don't have a take two. You have to pull through and be happy, and your body reacts to what you think. So I think just be really in a good mindset when you film, like be happy, unless your performance style is to be scary. That's a completely different genre. I'm open to those too.
Yeah.
But what is your internal dialogue? That will kind of, you know, just go through. And when I was doing cardistry on stage in my early days, I would drop cards all the time. And so for me, there were some performances where you could tell in my face that I'm a bit upset, and then your audience does not want you to try again. So basically, even if your performance is not perfect, if you still enjoy what you're doing, and even if that, you know, is in your video submissions, I think we just want to see more, and we want to see you try again, or, you know, maybe include the mistake in the video. I just want people to give it a shot, not be too harsh on themselves, and you are putting yourself out there, and that's okay, and I really respect that. So be brave, put yourself out there. I think everyone who participates will really grow through this process, and it is tough to grow in an industry where it feels like it's all the same. I buy a new trick, I try, learn it, or try to develop a new routine. This is something different. It really will challenge you. And hopefully more folks submit videos.
Yeah. And it's, you know, like you were saying, it really is that mentality that helped you to be able to find your style, was just trying and not being afraid of testing things and being able to put content out, even if you're not sure if it really is the direction that you want to go in. The only way that you'll really be able to know is if you try. And I think oftentimes we have these mental barriers that we put in front of ourselves. And there are so many people who think like, oh, I don't know if, you know, FISM judges would like my content. And that thought will stop them from actually trying. But the only way to actually know if FISM judges would like your content is to just try and submit and just see what happens, you know, because there are those 6 criteria. And the thing is that there are going to be people who submit things that are incredibly technically difficult, and they're going to get a ton of points for technical handling, but they might not be able to show their personality in that time. And other people will have something that's story-based and maybe very poetic and isn't very difficult, but really makes you feel something in 90 seconds. And it's going to be amazing to see how all the different genres and styles of magic are able to, use this 90 seconds as a creative challenge, as a creative, impetus, instead of as a limitation. And hopefully if people already have content that they're proud of, and they'll just throw that in the ring too. You don't have to create
if you have existing content, just submit. There's so many people I follow, and I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I just want to ping them, just submit the video. So I don't know, maybe someone else do it through me. I can send you a list, but
send me a list, and then I'll tell people, because I'm going to be reaching out to a bunch of people as a third party who has nothing to do with the judges. I could just reach out to
and let me know. And obviously, when you go through the form, there's a 20 euro fee to submit the video. 20 euros, it's maybe, I don't know, $22 US. I don't know the conversion rate today. Hopefully it's still okay with everything that's happening. But if this is prohibitive, which I doubt for most magicians that buy items way more than that, but if it is, or if you think someone should participate and they just need to be sponsored. I think you talked yesterday in your interview with Doug, right, about him sponsoring some folks.
Absolutely,
I love that idea. So I'm happy to sponsor a couple people. So maybe I ping you and we figure this out. We need to just ping people. And I think there's a big difference. And I use this in business a lot, because there's also not a lot of women in executive roles. So what we say to one another, because it's a very supportive community, is sponsorship is so important versus mentorship. And the difference is, I could mentor so many people, right? I could give advice. This is sort of a mentorship call, if you will, if you take the advice part of it, if you remove the random stuff. But sponsorship is me saying, this person should do this, or this person is the perfect person for this. And you putting yourself on the line because you're basically advocating for that individual. So I'd love to advocate for a couple of people and see if can give them a push so they submit. But I think we need to do more of that with this, because we all know really good magicians online that post videos regularly, or maybe not regularly because they given up, and they could have given up because of a few reasons. Maybe the algorithm didn't pick it up, and that's discouraging, right?
Yeah, or maybe members of the community were discouraging. There's so many things that stop people from posting. I know myself, I always immediately before I post something end up watching it through almost frame by frame, thinking about it from the perspective of someone who's going to dissect it, rather than thinking of it from the perspective of someone who's going to just enjoy a new video on their phone, And I think oftentimes we worry so much about what someone else is going to judge the video for, instead of what a new person would actually enjoy the video for.
Yeah. No, very true.
Yeah. So I was wondering, what are you kind of excited for or hoping to maybe see in some of the submissions? I know you kind of touched on that a little bit before, but like, is there anything that you really would love to see in these videos?
I am excited to see objects outside of cards, coins. I want like, and again, I love teach random stuff. I want to see something random incorporated into magic, like something that I wouldn't expect. Could be even a skill, like, I spent quite a bit of time like dice stacking in my Let's Learn series. I've done whistling tutorials, like, one magician have used in his performances the way to make smoke appear out of nowhere. And that's a really complicated thing you do with your mouth, but you can actually produce smoke without any smoke device.
Without anything.
For your body and that skill,
sick,
right?
Yeah.
So, and you know who that magician is, right? Sam. So incredible. But so he used a skill that was on the internet, and I had it in my Let's Learn series, and then he just did it so well that he could incorporate that. So just as an example. So I'm curious to see if any other skills could be incorporated to like just add a little bit of like, I don't know, like flair. And I personally really enjoyed like even, origami stuff. And I thought, okay, there's a technical component to origami. And like, I have brands reaching out to me that need specifically origami content now. I'm like, magician, but okay, I'll do origami, no problem. But like, there are other genres that combined with magic could be super, super beautiful. So I don't know, experiment. If you're really good at something else and you want to incorporate magic into it, that would be really cool.
Awesome.
Don't be afraid to. And that maybe will create the original portion of your, basically presentation.
This is something that Doug and I were talking about yesterday, is that, anything that you do, if you bring it to the point where it's now astonishing, now it has a home within this magic community. It's like you really can take any of your other hobbies, any other interest you have, and you can bring it into the magic world, and then it can really cause a whole new wave. I mean, you see that with how in the past decade, how Rubik's Cubes have just taken over.
Yes,
now everybody's got a Rubik's Cube in their show.
100%.
It took a few people who were speed cubers who had a separate obsession, and then brought it into the magic space. And now it's like, wow, what an amazing new, almost like, it's kind of considered almost like a classic magic prop now. But to think of it, it wasn't really, in everyone's repertoire that long ago.
Absolutely. Someone's asking whether you could enter with more than one video. I'll leave this one to you, please. I believe it's one, right?
Yes, it is just one submission per person. And there have been competitions in the past online that I'm not going to name or shout out, especially during COVID, where people had a submission fee and then they open it up to now you can have multiple submissions. And then it turns into a thing of basically whoever pays has the greatest chance of winning, because they have the most chances to apply, and whoever has the most money can do that. So instead, everyone has an equal playing field of 90 seconds to have your, put your best foot forward and to introduce yourself to the magic community and to be supported by the magic community. I know that there is someone who has the name Sadman in their name, and they've commented a few times about how I've missed their comment, but I keep scrolling to try and find the original comment. If you want to just let me know what the original one was, then
it's Sandman. I have decided to leave now. I think he's like, have a nice day or night.
I'm sorry.
So sorry.
I'm sorry. I couldn't see it in time. I kept trying to scroll and find what I missed.
Okay, there's another comment. Ollie, how do you know if the magic trick is real versus using visual effects?
Yeah, so we have a process, and basically, well, one, yes, you are allowed. So before I answer that question, just to zoom out, you are allowed to use a little bit of editing in your videos in order to aid the storytelling, not to be a part of any of the methods. So basically, any amount of editing that you could do, say in the Instagram app or the TikTok app on your phone, is allowed, as long as there's obviously nothing computer generated, any After Effects, and as long as none of the editing or the cuts is happening during the course of an effect, because then people would just think that the method was, you couldn't do it practically, you had to use the editing. So the other thing is that if there's any suspicion about if the method could be done practically or if it is relying on a cut, then we're also communicating with all the acts that submit to have them send in methods. So the judges on the back end will be able to kind of analyze that and make sure that everything is fair and that nobody's doing something that is, just entirely editing, and not a real magic trick.
Who knows? Maybe we'll have an AI bot submit.
just have a whole bot submit. That would be amazing.
From Ukraine joined, and it's like 2 a.m. We're chatting about the online Magic World competition and why folks should enter. And then there's folks from Pakistan. Welcome. Thank you for.
So what is magic? It's all practical, right? Well, for example, like if Patrick gave an example yesterday of if he was to have something in his hand and then he was to conceal it in his hand, and then suddenly there's an editing cut in and now there's nothing in his hand, then that wasn't achieved with any kind of sleight of hand or built constructed gimmick, any kind of actual practical method you could do live. The only way to do it is with a camera cut. So that's the thing. Now there are ways that you could do it practically. That's what we're looking to see in this competition, is people who actually do a real magic trick in front of camera instead of just in post.
Yeah. I want to go back to the number one point that I said, I look forward, that creativity, originality. I had such my favorite discussion around this topic has been with Lee Asher. He has such a good breakdown what that means. So I'm going to try to bring that to the judges table because I think it's so logical. So let's look at, effects. What are effects, right? Appearing, disappearing, transposition, teleportation, all of them, right? And when you now, as an adult, see those things happen, oh, that's that effect. Like something appears. When you're a kid that doesn't know yet that that's a magical effect, then, everything is magic and you're not impressed. But you learn that as you grow up, you learn the, obviously, laws of physics and that making something appear is a magical effect. So you have effects. So creating a new effect, that is borderline impossible. So I don't know, one day someone will create it and you just effect, visually something different that we don't expect. And maybe that will come from online magic, which is exciting. So two is obviously method. You could be working on a different method to achieve that effect. There's so many methods to vanish a coin, right? You could tweak a handling, right? You could have a different plot, the way you present it. So all those categories. So a lot of tricks that are released, sometimes, it's coined like this is the new magic effect, but is it an effect? Because an effect is one of the ones that already exist. What have you added to that effect?
That's so fascinating.
What have you contributed to that effect? So I find it, that will be probably a lot of in-depth conversation I'll have, and anyone that's challenging me on teaching magic, it will come down to okay, but the effect exists. So what am I really teaching? How is this, let's say, kosher versus a paywall, right? But respectfully, there was really some funny conversations where it's like, okay, the most recent one, I was teaching a rubber band trick, and it was from a book many years ago, and I'll share my resource for books, magic books, because it's technically a library, but nowadays there's an online library for any book that exists in any popular library. So then the person is like, that effect is published on Penguin Magic through this person, and it's using hair ties. So I look at the video and I'm like, they just took that effect from the book, changed the rubber bands through the ties, and it's behind a paywall.
Yeah.
So I just put kind of a screen wrap from the book, and I'm like, this is the original effect. Sorry, this is the original
Yeah.
trick. It's not an effect because the effect is a swap, right? So we know that things can change places. So that's the effect. But the object, anyway, so that's just some funny kind of nuances, which I'm sure I will have to go through a lot when I see people in Italy. But if you want to get inspired, or if you're stuck and you want to look at old methods and old books, the best way is a library. If you don't have access to a library, is going through a virtual library. And so what that is Internet Archives. Google that, and you have to put in the search things related to magic. Like the easiest thing you could write is magic tricks, and it will show you all the books that are in the public domain around that topic. And then you can borrow the book. So you click, I want to borrow, read it, and then you have a certain time to read it, and nothing is downloadable. So I love that concept, because then it allows you to go back and just like verify, like, what am I creating new here? And does that exist in any of those old books? And if you don't have access to obviously buy all the archives of magic, then that has been an interesting resource that I have found.
Yeah, and so what was the name? Did you mention particularly which online library?
Internet Archives, I think it's .org.
Internet Archives. Oh, okay. Okay, I thought you were just saying, just go to some Internet Archives. I didn't know if that's literally the name.
It's archives.org for short.
Okay. Archives.org.
And again, this is not just magic; it's everything. I've really went into quite a bit of cooking related material as well, because that's some of my content. But yeah, I love that. Yeah. And the other thing, and someone put it in the comments, and then the other thing that comes with that is, like, I just try to make a correlation to cooking. And for instance, there's this technique, and you probably know what that means in cooking, the Maillard reaction, right? You're searing meat, right? So I love to, for a lot of the magic terms to become like that. And it's only possible when everyone can use that. And there's no one who ever went on a cooking video and said, you shouldn't teach the Maillard reaction.
Yeah.
Or
yeah, absolutely. Like these fundamental principles, and at a certain point, these things do become fundamental principles, and nobody can necessarily discern when that point, happens. But yeah, it's like this just becomes, the tools that anyone can use to create new magic, and so that's a really valuable resource. I love the Conjuring Archive. And
yes, that's another amazing one.
I use the Conjuring Archive all the time, and then that's really good for being able to, if you have an idea, there's kind of two ways that you can use references, and this is kind of like what Ekaterina was saying, and also what Patrick was saying yesterday, is that some people approach. And we all do this, is that you learn a new method, and then that becomes kind of the roots of your idea. You go, okay, how do I do something with this that's new? I discovered this new thing, and then what do I do with this? Or you can kind of have all of the different things that you learn in magic history become kind of like the filter that your ideas pass through. And you're like, okay, now I know how to really find something that's truly original, because I've expanded my knowledge of what's out there, And yeah, Patrick was talking about it obsessively, of how he's every single day checking every magic release to make sure that he's behind. It's kind of amazing. Yeah, like you're right that like those online resources are so crucial, and we should be taking advantage of them, because there's more accessibility to information now than there ever has been. And you don't have to find the physical book at some library. You don't have to go to the Magic Castle or the Magic Circle to be able to have access to any book. You can really use the internet to find any magic information.
And now with like AI as your assistant, some of the crazy things I tried, because sometimes like I read a paragraph of how something is done, and I'm like, there's absolutely no visuals here. I have no idea. It's using Old English. I don't know. So I just plug that in ChatGPT. I'm like, give me the illustration of this. And sometimes it's pretty accurate. So it's just like crazy how AI can be your assistant to sift through, or like here are a few pages, like scan for this or scan for that. And it's just you get through information so much quicker.
Yeah. Also, the fact that with GPT-4o or even like Bing's integration, like a lot of AI platforms now all have online access, so you can just literally say, "Hey, go through the Conjuring archive and find me
Yeah,
any
yeah,
reference that's related to
exactly.
this, 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 and this," and then it'll actually pull you all of that information. It's super helpful.
Absolutely.
So how do you feel, because you have a background in sleight of hand and cardistry, and so how do you feel that like sleight of hand competitors are going to be able to do well in this competition compared to people who might do more visual magic?
I think there's a place for both. What I enjoy about sleight of hand is the same as I enjoy like learning a new skill. I know there's skill behind it that I find really exciting. And I know you have to have a certain personality to be able to go through that. And this is the same way I know like my son is probably not going to be a magician because he doesn't have that relentless kind of desire to like stick to something. Like there was the other day I showed him something and I'm like, this is how you do it, but you have to practice for like a month, like just the same thing over and over again. It's like, I'm not doing that. So I definitely, smile when I see sleight of hand because I'm like, there's hours of practice behind this, and those hours of practice, if you feel so comfortable after that you can overlay the personality aspect, it will be just as visual as a visual effect. Now, the visual effects, it really depends how you might combine props, right? So one of my favorite props in magic is utilizing smoke. So now that the new device is using any watch out there, which I bought a couple of those. It's like I use it, and it's hard. It's like, how do you compete with like a puff of smoke? Like, what do you, what can you do with sleight of hand? But you can, or you can combine both. So, I think there's a place for both, but I think it really depends on what do you want to show, and we'll welcome everything. I think I will see certain things that I haven't seen before from a visual perspective for sure, and probably I'll spend more time thinking of how they've achieved that versus maybe sleight of hand, which I can work back and say, okay, there's this happening, and even though I don't see it, I know that's probably what's happening, right? So
absolutely, yeah.
I'm excited for both. There is no wrong here. You want to do sleight of hand? I will make me smile because I know the hours behind it. You want to, I don't know, blow up some smoke something or
crazy, yeah.
Something appears, or you make a cat appear, you get extra points. I'm just kidding. But yeah, like this is the fun part about online magic. It can.
We immediately get 20 cat submissions. Just thanks, cat.
I will be super biased towards cat.
Yeah,
but no, I'm more like, I'm just, and I want people to know, it's like, I'm probably the most like open-minded about different genres. Like I will enjoy seeing any type of magic show or magic performance. And I do consume quite a bit of magic. I just don't maybe comment or go into, but like I really, really enjoy it. And it's a really prominent part of my feed. So even though I have been a little bit behind the scenes for magicians, I still very much follow everything that's happening.
Well, we had this question that was asked about the winners, how they're going to be announced, if it's going to be Instagram or live. So yeah, there's a particular process. There's going to be 20 finalists that are selected, and then those finalists are going to be actually displayed at the World Championship. And then just like how the live performers at the World Championship do have an audience reaction as part of their score. The judges score them on all these criteria, and they factor in whether they got a standing ovation and things. So there's an audience vote in person in Italy, and then the judges will also be scoring. So I don't know exactly how you guys are determining your top 20. I haven't been a part of those discussions. So, but yeah, those I think will be
figure
announced.
It out.
Yeah, I think that the top 20 is announced before Italy. So that yes, a little while before, because then everyone can find out if they're a finalist or not. So if you are a finalist, you'll find out with ample time before Italy. That way you can maybe book a ticket if you want to come to the convention.
Yeah, the fun part is we keep each other posted on what we need to do through WhatsApp. So
Yeah, exactly.
we will know soon. We're all like, yes, what do we need to do? We're here. But really appreciate, Blaise, having you come on board to support and spread the word. And I mean, last time we chatted was probably 3 years ago, and I think we spent like 3 hours.
Oh my God, yeah, on a podcast.
Like, I don't know what we were doing, but it was a good time, and it kind of reminds me of that. So that's the part that I enjoy about events like what's coming. It's just to hang out again as positive vibes, and we respectfully exchange, and it's okay to disagree. And also with the jury, I don't think we'll agree on every submission, so I'm excited for a little bit of conflict. And I'll stir some things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to not be a part of that room, but I'm sure you guys are going to have a lot of back and forth about your opinions on the different types of magic, because everyone has their own specialty. You all perform different types of magic and have different approaches to content, but that's kind of what makes this thing beautiful. Is that,
so Maddie, so go ahead, and then there's a question for us.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying that's kind of what makes this beautiful, is that we're trying to show that all different types of magic deserve to be highlighted at this World Championship and deserve a home here in this community, And so what was the next question? I missed it.
The question is from Maddie. He says, so finalists don't have to go? ?
So finalists don't have to go?
So he's asking whether
don't have to go to Italy?
Yeah. So you don't have finalists, you don't have to, but it would be cool if you're there.
That would be really, really cool if we can get the finalists to actually go. But I'm sure that we're going to have people that are submitting from all around the world. And that being said, it is a much more difficult process. As someone who's competing this year, it's a much more difficult process to compete in FISM the old-fashioned way of going through a qualifying competition and then having to fly there to compete in person. This one, anyone can submit around the world. There's very low barrier to entry. So hopefully we can get a lot of people who, even if you don't have a new idea for a new video, you just take something that you already have, submit it. And if you end up being selected as a finalist, then that would be amazing if you can join us in Italy and actually be celebrated as the first ever online Magic World Champion in person.
Someone said, can you make a category for the worst and the funnest magic trick? Can you be funny and worse at the same time?
Like The Room of magic tricks, the movie The Room. That's like the best movie.
Have I seen it?
Or best worst movie.
I don't know if I've seen it.
It's like so bad at everything that it takes to be a movie that it's like almost amazing. It's
if that's there could be a concept that you decide to just mess up, and at the end magic just happens and you're messing up. That's actually a character you could play. That's
really cool, actually.
Yeah, very viable.
What do you think you would do if you were going to enter this competition? If you weren't a judge and instead you wanted to be a competitor?
That's a really good question. I would create a trick with Tiger the cat, something wrong. And I'm like, 100%. Hopefully they can fly him to Italy because it will be incredible. But yeah, I would probably capitalize on the fact that it's either has to incorporate my son somehow or my cat, and the get ready for that would have to be I have to teach him certain things, and he's on diet now, so I have very little treats to get him to do stuff I want. But I think there's so basically my idea would have been, and this is something maybe one day I'll be able to realize on stage. So and this is kind of something that exists already, but there's been acts on stage with like lasers, right? And my cat is obsessed with lasers. So I would have my cat appear somehow, like interact with a laser, and then I will manipulate lasers. Like that's my concept. I don't know yet how I would do that. And I really hope to make this come true one day. And on stage, you'll see me and my cat on lasers. But I know, like, I would need to probably speak to a few people who have done it.
Yeah, some laser technicians to get that
I have like a big projector, and I've been playing with some stuff. But yeah, I just threw out my idea there. Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Figure out how to do it and talk to me. but it would capitalize on, like, obviously there has been like laser manipulation before, but I would tie it in with the most important fluffy baby of mine, and it would just work. And again, he's more famous than me right now, so that's the only thing I can think of. I would not do
No,
a
but
card
I think
trick.
that that's a great way to approach it, is to not limit yourself to thinking within magic. Like you were saying, is bringing things from outside of the magic world into magic can be the greatest source of inspiration. And you just starting with the initial idea of, I want to bring my cat into this routine, then spawn, now it's going to be a laser manipulation act. And now you're learning a whole new style of magic that you had been doing before.
Which I've never done before. And again, I don't know yet how to do it.
So, yeah, well, luckily you don't have to compete, but hopefully, hopefully
knows,
other people will maybe approach it that way, where they'll think,
Yeah.
what is maybe something trendy, or maybe something that I'm interested in, another hobby, another prop from around my house, and how do I make it organically fit within this narrative, within this story? Because if there is some kind of story or narrative or character to the video, then that will really help your submission.
Absolutely. The other thought I can give folks, I would really deep dive into like nostalgia. And okay, I'm getting old because I've been in magic 20 years, but it doesn't have to be magic related nostalgia, but it could be like what, like, I don't know, take us through time, like bring an object that is sentimental to, I don't know, or sentimental to childhood. I'm just thinking of a few things, and this is most likely before your time, even Blaze, but like Pogs, right? Who remembers Pogs, right? I used to slam these Pogs in the backyard of school anyway, and I'm not that old yet, but old anyway. Just think of objects like that, and those objects have helped me, build some Let's Learn content. And everyone's like, oh, I remember this from my childhood, or if it's even cooking related, I remember, my mom did this, or so anyway, I like to connect things that go deeper, and that brings out more depth to what you're showcasing, and there's an instant connection with culture. So the one thing that, because I had a chance to lecture at the last FISM, and I wasn't yet to the level of my following as I am today, but I literally gave like a lecture about how to make it on online social media and how to market yourself, which is crazy. And then I just applied what I said, and the result is there. Wow. But one of the things that I said that people struggled with is I said, you have to compete in culture. And folks didn't understand what that means. And it means connect with things, that people connect with, and have that. It could be very much something that's recent, or it could be from the past. And if you find that instant connection, it's easier. Like there was one video, and I can't remember what video I recreated, but there was a kid that said something or whatever, and it went viral. And then somehow I accidentally said it. And anyway, and that helped also. So I'm like, I don't know what's going to go and create that connection. So sometimes it just happens. But most of the time when you connect to culture, you're actively thinking and being part of the conversation. So if you've never consumed any content or have done nothing in your childhood that's fun, it might be more difficult, but I'm sure everyone had, right? Again, think of objects as the easiest. Think of skills. Think of things that make you feel good from the past. That's just a little idea that could get you started if you're starting from zero. Now, if you already have an idea, then just, how do you polish it together and send it through?
That's really great advice. Yeah. And like you're saying, there are so many things that anyone can relate to, or especially people who grew up in your same country could relate to. And then that can be a really great inspiration for making content that people can connect with, because, magic oftentimes is using strange props people have never seen before. Maybe in the past they were relatable and people had them as household objects, and maybe now they're more antiquated. People don't, you can't ask the audience for a lady's kerchief and
right.
Yes.
So many books that I read from that archives.org. It's like, take this chemical and this go to the chemist store. I'm like, what? I don't have access to that.
Yeah, my local chemist, and I'm just going to ask them for these two things that have already been proven to cause cancer since then. So yeah, it's just crazy.
Here's one object I can just recall from one of my videos. Crazy. So it's from a cattail plant or a palm tree plant. So you take that long leaf and you can make it into a rocket. So there's a way to kind of break up the leaf and it just kind of jumps. So imagine if you had that combined with invisible thread, and then you have that interact with, I'm just throwing stuff out. But so the action of being able to just catapult like a little leaf, and also not cutting yourself while doing it, selecting the right plant is what is connected with culture, with people, and people have started to put in the comments, like, I'm from India and we do this with palm trees, and then people in North America are like, this is called cattails, because I actually, when I filmed the video, I forgot what the plant was called, and my phone was used to monitor, so I couldn't look it up anyway. The live video ended.
It looks like our...
Let me go on this side. Has it ended for you?
So it looks like our live stream. You can hear me?
Yeah.
On the computer. Let me just switch over to my... Here, let me just do this.
I guess it's a sign that we talk too much.
Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you from the computer.
Okay, we should be okay. It's just that I need to switch over to my AirPods on here. But yeah, basically our live stream just ended on Instagram.
Okay, that's fine. So I guess we leave it ended.
I don't know. I don't know why I can't hear you. Let me...
Oh, you cannot hear me?
Fix this. Settings, audio, speaker, AirPods. Here we go. Okay, now I can finally hear you again.
You can hear me? Okay. Yeah, we can continue on here and maybe find words to, because we could talk for hours. Again, we've done this like for 3 hours.
I know. I actually have a flight in a couple hours, so I'm gonna have to start.
Okay, yeah. Let's wrap.
But let's definitely. There was another question that I wanted to ask you as well.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So limit for videos in 90 seconds. Do you think is better to be shorter? Are there positive points on length? Better to be shorter. I don't know. If it were me, I would personally use all 90 seconds. But that's just me.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have, faced so many times where I'm like, I wish I had more seconds, when it was only the 60 seconds limits. Now you have up to 3 minutes technically on a lot of these platforms. And I know we came up with the rules before it became 3 minutes. So I think it's a sweet spot, 90 seconds.
I think so too. I think there's a lot that you can do in 90 seconds. There's actually a lot more storytelling than you would expect. And last night I was trying to reach out to a bunch of different online communities, so I jumped into the Bizarre Magic and Mentalism Zoom and got to meet some of those guys. And they do this creative challenge on their weekly meetings, and it was so interesting to watch. And yeah, for them, one of them was sharing this. That he was recently getting interested in this kind of like short story and these online forums with short stories and like short horror stories, and how just in and I guess that there is a type of genre called 3-sentence horror, and that you like in 3 sentences you can like make a horror story.
That's crazy.
That's really scary. Wow. And it's like, to be able to be very concise can also be really powerful, if you can.
100%. If you look through my business emails, it literally says aligned, thanks ECAT, or approved, thanks ECAT. Like, this is how concise I try to be in business. So obviously, yeah. Horror movie.
That's a good way to be. Yeah. Unlike my messages in the group chat where nobody reads them, and I was like, okay, I need to be more concise.
I try to go through it. Yeah, but if I get too long of an email, sometimes I just copy paste into ChatGPT, and I'm like, can you please summarize? What do I need to do?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we another thing that I wanted to ask really quick is, because your videos online are very high quality, and I'm assuming that you're recording them on like professional cameras. So if someone wants to submit, and if they only have, say, a phone, what advice would you give them so that they can maximize the quality of their submission?
I would say, if you're talking, get a mic, and these mics are so cheap now. And if you continue your online journey, you will need it anyway. And there are so many mics that now work with the phones. So that's if you're talking. Definitely, if you were to pick one, upgrade your audio first. 2, your phone will be as good as your lighting. So you don't necessarily need to buy crazy lights, but is it shooting during like golden hour outside? If you can, it depends on your setup. If you're indoors, then maybe you will need to really think through your lighting and how you set up. But the quality of video is almost 100%, because the phones are pretty much all equal at this point. I have some preferences for like Google camera versus iPhone, but I have 3 of them. So anyway. Yeah. You really don't need to stress too much about filming on a phone, but editing outside of the platform will be easier than inside. So CapCut is a nice editing platform. I think there's Premiere Rush. Me personally, because I deal with pretty large files, because I very rarely use my phone. So I process things through a computer and I edit on a computer, and then I just send it to my phone and upload it from my phone. So it's when it's not natively edited in an app, it also does not add any metadata onto your video. So if you were to post, so I literally take one video asset and post it across everything, and it's the same content. And each time I upload it, it's recognized as new in that platform. So that's a little tip. So a lot of people that just maybe post on TikTok, take that file, post it on Instagram. Automatically, there's information shared, and platforms compete with each other and will, reduce your chances of getting picked up.
If Instagram recognizes that your video was originally uploaded to TikTok and saved,
it's not going to like
uploaded, it's going to not want to push it out to people on this platform. Wow. Okay, so that's a really good tip.
So I have native upload onto each platform, and I've been in a situation where I didn't have access to my laptop, but I had like an adapter to put the camera footage onto my phone, and I did edit on CapCut. So I do think there's a lot of editing apps that are really, really strong on the phone as well.
CapCut is amazing. Both the computer and the phone app are amazing.
And even the pro version of CapCut is not that expensive either. If you were to remove the watermark, let's say you're stuck and your submission is amazing. There's a watermark. I don't see why. Like if you move forward, like I don't know. There's there's always possibility to kind of invest if you're a finalist, and we remove.
If you're a finalist, we can remove. Yeah, we'll get a free trial for the week so we can get your watermark off. Yeah.
Or we'll probably take the footage and edit it without the one. Anyway, there's ways around it. So don't stress, but phone quality is good. Watch a few free resources on YouTube on how to place your lighting, and there's some basic concepts about lighting that really enhance video. And you hear a lot about like cinematic. It doesn't have to be cinematic, but if it's too bright, you can tell. If it's too dark, you can tell. And we obviously want it to really be the best conditions for us to understand your storytelling.
And it's absolutely right that if you can't afford to get a higher quality microphone, then try and record in an environment where you can control the audio and have it be quiet. And if you can't record, if you can't have high quality like recording equipment, that's not a problem, but the lighting is way more important. Is just be in a space and make sure that your camera can actually pick up you. Make sure that's right.
You want to see you for sure.
So that's such great information. I feel like we've been able to give a lot of great advice to people if they're interested in submitting. We haven't told people the most important piece of information, which is where you can submit. So I guess probably a great piece to wrap this up, unless there was anything else that was on your mind that
that's perfect. I appreciate our chat. Thank you for the time.
This has been so great, and thank you so much for your time. And we had some really great comments. Thank you everyone who joined us in the live stream, both on Instagram and on YouTube. And you can join the Online Magic World Championship this year by going to FISM Italy 2025.com, FISM Italy 2025.com/online-magic, or you can just click Online Magic on the homepage, and then you'll be given all of the information about the submission, where you can go. I'll also have in the description on YouTube the link where you can just directly click. It's also on all of our social media pages in the description. You can join, submit, post a video. It's just 90 seconds of your life, and you could become the first ever Online Magic World Champion. So it's a really exciting exciting opportunity, not just for you as a magician, but also for, I think, the whole face of the magic community. And we're really, really glad to have Ekat on board to bring this to life. So
awesome.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ekat. Have a great rest of your night. See you.
You too. Safe travels.
Thanks. Okay.